G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Caitlin. I am a romance writer and currently have a literary agent trying to get my book traditionally published. And let me tell you, my agent has the book now, and getting it to this stage was a wild experience. I've had to use multiple beta readers, so let me tell you a little bit about what that was like. I used 5 different beta readers and I found them through 4 different platforms, so let me share my experience with you guys. It looks like my cat Snap has decided to join in on this video as well. You want to say hello? No? He just needs to be on my lap every single time I talk. Like as soon as I start talking to the camera or somebody, he needs to be involved. He's a cuddler, but he's a very needy ginger boy. So yeah. Okay, so let's get into the beta readers that I used. I used 5 different beta readers and I found them through 4 very popular platforms, very popular ways. Whenever you ask for beta reader feedback, or you ask where do I find beta readers, people typically give you one of these options. I just had to sneeze there for a second. So I used Fiverr, I used a Facebook sort of group, I used TikTok, and I used a recommendation from somebody that I knew. So those were the ways that I found my 5 beta readers. Let me break it down. So for Fiverr, I actually used 2 different beta readers. I would say this wasn't necessarily by choice. I had planned on using only one. So when I sent her the manuscript, I sent her a list of the trigger warnings that are in front. My book is, even though it's contemporary romance, it does touch on some stuff that could be triggering. So I sent that to her. She was fine with it. She would get it to me within, I think it was a 2-week turnaround time. And I typically don't follow up. I'm not like, hey, where are you at? The status of the book a couple of days or a week into it. I'm like, this is the deadline. They'll get it to me by the deadline. Well, the deadline passed by a couple of days. So I reached out to her. I'm like, hey, just wondering, can I get an update? Where's this at? She's like, oh, sorry, I had a family emergency. I got about 80% of the way through the book, but I'm not going to be able to get this to you. And she canceled the invoice. Now, family emergencies happen. No worries, completely understand. The thing that was a little worrying for me at the time, though, was I was kind of on a deadline. I had to get this to my agent by a certain period. So I'm like, okay, now I need to find somebody who can beta read this for me, but also with a little bit of a rush. So luckily I was able to find somebody. I was able to put in a sort of expedited request. And for this beta reader, I actually requested inline comments as well. So most beta readers will just give you a reader report. Some will give you the option to pay a little bit extra and will put inline comments throughout the manuscript as they're reading. Every beta reader does it differently, so double check and make sure you know what you're getting, not even just on Fiverr, but on any other platforms. If you're hiring a beta reader, make sure you know what you're getting before you pay and sign up. Luckily, this beta reader was fantastic, got everything to me by the deadline, gave really insightful comments throughout the actual manuscript that I sent her. Let me tell you, the reader report she gave me was fantastic. It was like a detailed 8-page reader report that included characters and plot and pacing and themes and things that she found great about the story, things that she thought were like kind of plot hole-ish, maybe not so much like plot hole-ish, but it didn't quite flow the way that she had expected to or planned for it to in her mind as she was reading it. It was a great report. And with all beta reader feedback, you can't take every single bit of advice that they give you because there's bias. They're reading it through their lens. Every reader comes to a book with bias. So I would never recommend just getting one beta reader and assuming that everything they say is the end-all be-all. I always recommend getting a few, seeing what the main themes are and the main concerns are when they're giving you their feedback, and you can kind of finish editing the book based on that feedback. I had a little bit of a disaster with the next one. So one place that people will recommend is check Facebook groups if you're still on Facebook. They'll have like looking for ARC and beta readers and beta reader feedback and critique partners. There's so many groups out there on Facebook. And I found a couple in the past for different books that way. I feel like when it comes to beta reader feedback, you do honestly get what you pay for. Now, if you're lucky and you have a friend who is a very avid reader in the genre that you're writing and is able to give unbiased feedback, that's one great avenue to pursue as well. Even though I'm friends with a lot of romance writers, we all have our own lives. We all have deadlines. They're busy reading arcs that are already set to come out. I don't want to tap them as beta readers. If it comes down to it and they're interested, I might ask some of them to become ARC readers later on down the line. If not, hopefully just hearing about my story is enough for them to be interested to consider reading my book whenever it does come out. So I don't tap my writing group as beta readers. So what I did was I went onto a Facebook group and found somebody for free. And you get what you pay for. In this case, it wasn't too terrible. Let me explain. I didn't put the full blurb up. I didn't give a ton of information. It was mostly, hey, these are the tropes. There are some trigger warnings that I can send you to make sure you're comfortable with it. It's a contemporary romance. Let me know if anybody be interested. I feel like when it comes to getting attention on these groups, you have to be able to post at the right time. The admin has to approve it at the right time. You have to have the right graphics. You have to have the right everything. I wasn't too concerned about that. I kind of just threw everything out there. I'm like, if somebody's interested, they'll let me know. I did get feedback from one person who's like, okay, it sounds interesting. Send it my way. I have time. So I did. She got 2 chapters through and she's like, look, I am not your intended audience. I prefer dark romance, paranormal, romantasy. I'm not a contemporary romance girly, and your voice for this book is very much like contemporary rom-com, like spicy contemporary rom-com, but definitely rom-com-esque. That's not me. That's not what I click with. So I'd given some comments for the first 2 chapters that I did read. Take them with a grain of salt, just knowing that I am not your ideal reader. And she did give some really interesting comments for those first couple of chapters. Some I really did take to heart and actually implemented those changes in the book. But I was so glad that she actually told me that she's not my ideal reader, that this isn't the type of book that she would pick up if she read the back jacket blurb or saw what my voice was like. It just wouldn't be for her, and I'm so glad she did. One, I don't want to waste somebody's time. Reading a book takes, I think, on average 7 to 8 hours for the average person, and that's 7 to 8 hours of somebody's life that they're never going to get back. If it's something that's not going to be enjoyable, I don't want to force them to read my book, especially this is somebody who was doing it for free on Facebook. This wasn't somebody that I paid. So completely understandable and actually really appreciative that she didn't do that. But 2, if she hadn't told me and had given me all this negative feedback, that would have gutted me, because I wouldn't have known right off the bat that she wasn't my ideal reader. I wouldn't have known that this isn't the type of book that she would normally read. I would probably have read it and done what a lot of authors would have done in that stage and absolutely panicked and gone, oh no, my book is terrible. I need to start from scratch. This isn't good. Oh my God, I'm going to panic. But I've completely gutted the book and stuff like that? Most likely no at that stage, but I would have been really, really concerned sending it to my agent. So that was my 3rd beta reader. My 4th beta reader was one that I had actually used on a previous book. She was fabulous. She's absolutely fantastic. She gave me a pretty detailed 4-page reader report, and I did pay for the reader report. Now, the last book she gave me feedback on, she used to do inline comments. She's like, look, I don't have the capacity to do inline comments, especially at the price that I charge, because she is pretty reasonable. So I'm like, okay, you know what? That is totally fine. I completely understand that you can't do inline comments anymore. I'd still be happy with the reader report because she gives such a great reader report through the books. I had to hire her several months in advance because I knew deadline-wise where things would fall. I was able to get in on her books at a reasonable time, put down the deposit. She read it, gave me the reader report, and the feedback was so good. Just like last time, it was a really, really detailed report. Went over the characters, plot, pacing, the usual stuff that you'll see in a good beta reader report. And it was very helpful feedback. I was able to implement things that way. And the way I initially found her was through a recommendation through somebody on another Facebook group. They're like, I've used her in the past. She's great. She's reasonably priced. She gives really well thought out and explained reader reports. And I've worked with her on 2 books so far. I'd love to work with her on future ones, depending on whether or not the deadlines and everything meet up. But yeah, she's been fabulous to work with so far. And then the last one I found on TikTok. And this is probably the one where I shot myself in the foot the most, because I had worked with this editor / beta reader in the past. She'll do a manuscript assessment, give a sort of reader report through that, and it's a flat fee regardless of the word count that she charges. But I didn't really send her any questions to answer. I basically was like, here's my manuscript, send me a report, tell me what you think. With beta reader feedback, you don't want to do that. You really want to get specific about the type of questions that you want answered in a report. And if you guys have any questions about like what sort of questions should you be asking the beta reader, let me know in the comments down below. I'm happy to let you know what I use, some of the stuff that I've sent out before, some stuff that's consistent across pretty much any book that you send out. But I didn't do that, and it kind of ended up shooting me in the foot, so to speak, because I got a reader report back that was, I almost want to call it immature, because it was 7 pages. The first page was just like a cover page, and then the second page was like the typical intro, like, just remember all readers are biased, so don't take everything I say to heart. Really appreciate you letting me read your story, like all that sort of generic fluffy stuff. But it was in a weird font. It was in bright pink. It was huge font. It was like 18 font, 20 font, something like that. And the detail that she gave me wasn't great. Like, it was very surface level. Like, it's almost felt like she skimmed the book just so she could get the report to me as fast as she could and be done with it, which seems so different to what I'd experienced the first time I worked with her. Now, the first time I worked with her, she didn't give me a separate report. She put everything in an email. But even then, the email was pretty thorough and detailed. So I actually have it written down here, the cost and everything. So I received a 7-page reader letter with very large, double space. The first 2 words were just intro fluff. There was 800 words typed in 2 pages when you put it down to single space Times New Roman font, for $360 Australian. That's 200 pounds. I'll do the conversions here because I'm not a math girly, I'm a words girly. Her previous reader report was over 1,400 words. So nearly half of what she'd given me before for the same price. I was flabbergasted when I read this because I'm like, this is somebody who comes across as so professional, has a professional website. No, I will not name her. So I think part of that was on me for not asking questions, but I also don't remember asking questions the first time I asked for a report from her. And what she gave me was so much more detailed the first time around. So I know I won't be going back to her given how inconsistent her reports are. So she broke it down into several categories. It was opening, pacing, plot, world characterization, and just general notes. So in terms of her opening, I did not agree at all. She wanted me to add more about the characters even in the beginning. And if you're a romance writer and you follow Romancing the Beat, they're pretty specific about what sort of points you need to hit at certain times. Now, I follow that pretty regularly because in the books that I read and enjoy, it actually follows that same sort of vibe where you get one chapter with her POV, one chapter with his POV, and then the meet cute. That's what I do. She's like, oh, well, I actually wanted more about both characters in the beginning. I'm like, no, because that slows the pacing down a lot. It takes longer to get the 2 characters to meet and put them on page. Everything that you need to know about the characters to build up to that point was already there. So I actually completely didn't agree. And I think if I'd added 2 chapters to the front, my agent would kill me. She's very much like hard word count. This is the pacing. Needs to be tight, needs to be tense. You need to really push the story through. And if I added more chapters just to give fluff about the character's background, she'd go nuts. Now, she did give some stuff that was also consistent with some of the other beta reader feedback, which is helpful, which was don't be afraid to let the characters sit in the moment before resolving things, which is a huge problem of mine. My agent even pointed out, she's like, when they're in that moment, let them feel that moment before you jump to like your sort of humorous, like rom-com-y type voice. If it's an intense moment, let everybody feel the intensity. Don't feel the need to like tidy it up and make things nice and pretty for everybody so quickly. So I've taken that to heart, and I did take that to heart a little bit more when I did the edits. She did give some really positive feedback about it overall. She's like, the manuscript kept me engaged and wanting to read further the entire time. I didn't feel like there were any slow moments. She did point out a couple of little unresolved plot threads, like not the main plot and not even some of the subplots, but like, you kind of mentioned this at the start and then it drops out, or like you mentioned this at the end and I don't see where it ties in. So a couple of things like that were really helpful, but she's also not the only one that mentioned those. My other beta readers gave me that same sort of feedback as well for a much more reasonable price. So that's it, guys. That's how I ended up hiring 5, technically 4 beta readers for Project Glitter. Project Glitter is now with my agent. I will be getting feedback soon, and as soon as I get that feedback in, I will be recording a video, sharing some of it with you guys, at least sharing what I can. And I will let you know what it's like getting feedback from your agent at the developmental edit stage, because I have an editorial agent, somebody who really dives in and fleshes out the manuscript and like really gets her hands into it. So yeah, that's it. I'm excited to see where Project Glitter goes. We're going on submission. I have the deadline in my head. I will share what I can with you guys. I know submission is a little bit of a mystery process, so we might have to wait until the book is actually picked up, fingers crossed, and I get an offer to actually share any of that detail with you. But we'll be going on sub soon, and the book isn't even finished. My heart is racing just thinking about it. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys have any video recommendations for me, if there's any videos that you want to see, please, please, please let me know down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye.